Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Forton with Michigan Matters, and today is the 18th of March, and we have a very important show for you here today. We have the Michigan Convention, Republican Convention coming up in a week or so, and there's some important decisions to be made, and we're going to talk about one of the things going on in that race. How a great friend on with us right now, and she is in my mind, the best candidate for Secretary of State, and it's Monica Yatooma. And I'd like to welcome you, Monica. And maybe
Hi, Mark.
you
It's
can
great to
tell
be
us,
with you.
good to see you. And just saw you early this week at Veterans Returning Home. This is a fantastic thing. But anyway, what are you doing lately? What are you doing? Where were you today?
Yeah, where have I not been? We've been everywhere. I've been in Macomb this week. I've been, I gotta check because I gotta be honest with you. This is probably not a good thing to say, but I don't even know what day it is anymore. We're doing multiple events a day,
You?
but I've been in Oceana, Muskegon. Let's see, where else did I go? Oh, Isabella County. Went to Washtenaw County, Kalamazoo. Gosh, we did the vets returning home this week. Oh, and I was in Lapeer last night. I'll be in Waterford tonight. Tomorrow I'll be in Ionia, and the weekend. And also I have to be in Ionia in person, but then I have a Zoom with two other different counties. So when I tell you it's been insane, that is an understatement. But I planned for this. I figured when we got close to the nominating convention, which is in March 28th, less than 2 weeks away, it was probably going to get
Mhm.
crazy like this.
I, anyway, I saw a letter. In fact, our mutual friend Lisa sent this to me. You put it out. I have the date here somewhere. Oh, here it is. Here it is. I think it was the 14th. Yeah, the 14th of March. And this letter is very, very interesting to me because you really nailed what I have been witnessing for 40 years. And you really nailed the idea that, in my mind at least, that we need new blood in Lansing desperately. And I don't care if the House, the Senate, the Secretary of State, the AG, the government need people that are willing to really change Michigan and not be part of the unity. This letter you describe happens. And you wanted to kind of describe that for us? Or, I mean, it's beautifully written, and I'll try to put it up in our new week. Because, as you said, these people get elected on promises, and then what happens?
Well, a lot of them, not all of them, don't keep their promises, and that's why when I wrote this post, that's why I started it with, let me tell you about a conversation that happens in Lansing far more often than anybody wants to admit, because that's what's going on behind the scenes. So for everybody watching that gets super frustrated, because I get a ton of people as I travel the state and they come to me and they say, why do we elect these people? And then they get into office and they don't do the things that they say they're going to do. And, there are certain people in positions of power that make it difficult for them to do their job. For example, and I'm not pointing to any individual specifically, but, if you're not on good terms, for example, if you're a state rep and not on good terms with the Speaker of the House controls your staff, they control your committee assignments. I mean, they literally control how important you are or how irrelevant you are. And so when you want to show your constituents that you're doing the right thing for them, they could make your job super difficult, right? And then when it comes to your reelection, they could make that super difficult. They could primary you if you wanted, because the Speaker of the House has access to funds, right? Like the House Republican Campaign Committee or whatever other organization they operate through, to get money and donors and the entire operation of door knockers and all these things that a candidate needs to get reelected. So if you pick people or if you vote for people that need a job, that depend on working for the government, or pick people that don't have a moral compass or are not strong in their faith, these are the people that are going to be much more easier to manipulate. And so that's why I made this post, so people understand this is what's going on in Lansing. And this is why it's so important for all of you to do your homework on who you're voting on and who you're sending to go represent you in Lansing.
Mhm. Yes, and I've watched this. We could bring up a pile of names if we wanted to in government today. But so-and-so winds working for a state rep as a kid, right? He's a young person, and he's working for a rep. And then he's working for this township trustee. He does this, and then he's a county commissioner, and then he's so on and so forth. He spends a whole life from this. In so doing, he's developing this network government people, okay, that are supporting him for this, that, these, and those. And then he finally gets to a really high offer, state or attorney general or governor or whatever, and been nothing but a government person their whole life, and they're part of this bubble. They're part of this uniparty system where they're more worried about instead of worrying about constituents, they're worried about the people they work with, even Democrats, and suffering terribly for this. Our state's in terrible shape. But anyway, so now we look at our elections. I know there's been a lot of people who've investigated our elections, 2020 and so on and so forth, and they find everything from mail-in ballots. The president says he'd like to ban machines, he'd like to ban as Secretary of State, I'm sure but would you be willing to advocate or push for getting rid of mail-in ballots or looking into those kind of options?
I wouldn't advocate for getting rid of mail-in ballots entirely because I do want to make sure that our overseas voters and our UOCAVA voters, right, our military voters have legitimate overseas
True.
and military voters have access to our absentee ballots. We also have people that are disabled or bedridden and just can't get out to a polling location. These types of people are who the absentee ballots should be reserved for. They shouldn't be going to anybody else. If you are physically able-bodied to get out and go to a polling location or get your ballot to a drop box or even to your local clerk, the majority of people can do that. But there is a small population that can't physically, and that's who I think the absentee ballots should be reserved for.
Absolutely. And there can be very efficient system to take care of that without a
Yeah, there
problem,
can
I'm
be.
sure. Thing that glares out at you that you would like to fix?
Oh gosh, we're going to be here all day, Mark.
Well, I know you have limited time, you have to go, but let's use some
I
of it.
know. Let me tell you what I think is most important. The three or four most important points. So the first one, cleaning up the voter rolls. That's a non-negotiable. We got to get in there, and it's got to be the first thing that we do because then it's kind of like a domino effect from there. So we clean up the voter rolls. We take Michigan out of ERIC, the Electronic Reporting Information Center. Taking Michigan out of ERIC is going to be really important and contribute to helping clean up the voter rolls and reduce the amount of fraud. And we don't want to be giving our voter data anyways to any progressives because the CEO of ERIC is progressive. So we'll take Michigan out of ERIC. We'll clean up the voter rolls. I'm going to work with the Department of Homeland Security and use their database to cross-check our rolls, run monthly audits, and get them cleaned up. That means removing duplicate names, removing deceased names, and identifying if there is any non-citizens on our rolls and taking them off as well. Once I clean up the rolls, then I move to the next important thing, which is securing the chain of custody on our absentee ballots and strengthening that chain of custody. If the voter rolls are clean and they're not bloated and there's no extra names like duplicate, deceased, whatever it might be, or people that maybe moved and shouldn't be on there, then we can't have any maybe nefarious individuals, I'll say, assigning absentee ballots to individuals that don't exist because those individuals won't be on there because our voter rolls will be clean. And that's how we'll secure our absentee ballots. But also, I'm going to make it a point to make sure through communication with our clerks across the state that we're ensuring signature verification on every single ballot in every single election. And I think if we do the voter rolls, the absentee ballots, take Michigan out of ERIC, and the next thing I want to do is commission a full forensic audit. And I want to be very specific here when I say a full forensic audit. What I mean is the forensic part means that it's an audit that includes a paper trail where the evidence would be sufficient enough to hold up in a court of law. Because this is what I mean when I say, because I know, there's another candidate in this race, Anthony Forlini, and he says that he did a forensic audit. But the fact of the matter is, and I've been able to confirm this with Ben Cotton, who he did have on site, it was not a forensic audit. He did a basic surface level audit with no paper trail and nothing that would hold up in a court of law, which is fine. I'm
Sure.
not attacking that. What I'm saying is let's call it what it is and let's not be misleading to the delegates.
Yeah.
So, and I want, and so now he's saying, well, Monica's saying she's going to, commission a full forensic audit that costs millions of dollars. And the thing is, if he understood how to actually run a forensic audit, he would understand that we could do it in a way that wouldn't cost millions of dollars. But he doesn't know that, and he should because he's been a
Mhm.
clerk. So any large
Right.
expenditure would require approval from the Michigan legislature. But that said, Mark, a full statewide forensic audit of every machine and process, which is what Tony thinks of when I say full forensic audit because he's so close minded, that's not the only way to strengthen transparency and confidence in our election system. And it may not be the most efficient approach either. So if I'm elected, my priority would be to implement a targeted, phased audit process that focuses on the highest risk areas first. That can include an independent forensic review of election management systems, chain of custody procedures, tabulation processes, and a statistically significant sample of voting equipment across counties. So, this type of structured review can provide meaningful oversight at a fraction of the cost that a blanket statewide audit would require. And listen, Michigan already performs post-election audits under current law, but those audits are limited in scope. So my goal would be to expand transparency and strengthen those processes using a combination of existing audit authority and collaboration with county clerks. Because if necessary, working with the legislature on reasonable funding for deeper independent reviews, if we need to do that, fine, we'll do that. But in other words, the objective is not to spend hundreds of millions of dollars like Tony claims. The objective is to ensure the system is secure, transparent, and trusted by the voters while being responsible with taxpayer dollars. So I just want to make that very clear.
Absolutely. Isn't that interesting? Something our elected officials, if something is important or beneficial to the populace of Michigan, it's the money mad. All of a sudden, money. But in the meantime, we can put up windmills and solar panels, and we can buy up farmland, and we at all kinds of outrageous prices, and that's no big deal, no problem. But if something comes up that the American or the Michigan people need, oh, I'm just maddening.
Can't hear you guys. I can't hear you guys. Okay. I thought leaving and coming back would help, but I still can't hear you. Not sure if you can hear me. Mark, can you hear me? I tried phone now, but I can't hear you.